morning breaks in the Sahara. As the sun steadily rises to 113 degrees Fahrenheit in this bleak desert of nothingness. This region of southwest Algeria is the Hamada. With its sun-scorched plains and burning hot earth, it's hardly a place to call home. Yet this area is host to 165,000 Sahrawi refugees who are waiting out a war in their homeland, Western Sahara, once known as the Spanish Sahara. Since 1975, the Kingdom of Morocco and the nationalist West Saharans, under the banner of the Polisario Front, have contended for control of Western Sahara. The Sahrawi people might have achieved independence in 1975 had Spain honored its pledge to the United Nations to organize a self-determination referendum. Instead, Spain withdrew from its last overseas colony in a record 103 days, leaving behind a country rich in phosphates and fisheries. Western Sahara is located along the northwest coast of Africa, wedged between Morocco to the north, Mauritania to the south, and Algeria to the east. In 1975, the fate of the Sahrawi people had coincided with the dying Generalissimo Francisco Franco and with grave uncertainties about an orderly transfer of power in metropolitan Spain. Franco's government violated the standard practice on decolonization by signing the secret tripartite Madrid Accords of the 14th of November 1975, which remained sealed in Alcalá de Henares until the year 2000. The practical effect of the tripartite accords was to allot the northern two-thirds of the Spanish Sahara to Morocco and the southern third to Mauritania. The Spanish withdrawal prompted the armies of both Morocco and Mauritania to roll into Western Sahara in the autumn of 1975. The Sahrawi people resisted, but not without great human costs. During the course of the war, thousands of Sahrawis have died from bombardments and aerial bombings or have disappeared. After 4 years, Mauritania withdrew and signed peace with Polisario on the 5th of August 1979. Some 9 days later, Morocco moved to occupy the whole of Western Sahara. Since then, the world nearly has forgotten the Western Sahara. There have been no televised music concerts nor front-page news stories. The people of the sand, however, have carried on. This is their story as told by the Sahrawi exile communities in Algeria and Spain. After 16 years of war, one might expect tragic camp scenes. Instead, the Sahrawis have turned the harsh desert of their exile into an enabling environment. They have planted gardens in their refugee camps, meeting some of the food needs for the camp's 165,000 residents. These gardens are one of the many self-supporting programs initiated by the Sahrawis.
Después del éxodo masivo al que fue obligado nuestro pueblo en 1975, a raíz del acuerdo.
Following the massive exodus imposed on the Sahrawi people by the tripartite Madrid Accords, we decided to organize ourselves by establishing essential programs in the economic, social, and political fields. Agriculture had to play an important role, not only to satisfy in part the needs of our people, but also to contribute to their education and training.
For Sahrawis who are accustomed to the less extreme conditions of the Atlantic region of the Sahara, working this arid land of rock and sandy desert must have seemed an impossible task. But the Sahrawis were determined to succeed.
In 1977, we established an experimental agricultural program, which after having produced good results, was extended throughout the camp's institutions and regions. In the beginning, we lacked basic inputs such as hoes, shovels, rakes, and motorized pumps.
Sahrawi agronomists and technicians trained in irrigation, soils, and plant protection in desert environs have been assisted by older Sahrawis. Together, they have trained a permanent Sahrawi workforce. Some 14 years later, the land is well prepared.
Our objective was to create an awareness of productivity among our people, showing them the importance of what it is to work the land and reap its benefits, seeing that during the colonial period, agriculture was marginalized and worked by few people.
In the vegetable gardens, a combination of old and new ideas is at work. Organic fertilizer is provided by using manure from the camp's goat pens. The wisdom of Sahrawi elders also is tapped.
We are the sons of the clouds because we used to roam beneath the clouds in search of rain for pasture and cultivation. We would make camp and cultivate where the rain had fallen, in depressions and in riverbeds, for ourselves and our livestock. Because we no longer follow the clouds, we have to draw on subterranean water.
Diesel pumps donated by European development agencies draw on an underground water source, or aquifer, providing plentiful water for agriculture. Still, the Sahrawis take care to use water prudently and economically, so as not to lower substantially the level of subterranean water being tapped. Poor soil quality is a drawback for the Sahrawi agricultural endeavor. There are no elements, microelements, nor organic materials in these soils. In the Hamada, however, the major challenge to agriculture the Sahrawis face is the water's high saline content.
As regards the high salinity of the soils, we attempt to leach the salts from the earth. Our best method of removing salts is through a flashing system, where we add large quantities of irrigation water to the earth. By capillarity, the salt rises to the top of the soil, where it can be removed. Generally, there are two planting seasons for desert agriculture. In our region, the winter season begins in September or October, when we sow vegetables and barley, which we harvest in March and April. Then, the second season begins, yielding a July and August harvest. We make sun-dried clay bricks to build walls around the gardens. Then we construct windbreaks from Saharan materials such as cane and esparto. These are our methods of shading the crops and reducing evaporation. These shelters also serve to combat the wind and displacement of sand. Without these walls and windbreaks, the crops would be affected by the wind and would be destroyed. Even so, in severe siroccos and during the rare downpours of rain, even the walls fall down.
In an inhospitable desert environment and against formidable odds, the Sahrawis have endured and the desert has turned green again and again.
Approximately 148 acres are under cultivation throughout the 4 wilayas of the refugee camps.
Our crops are oriented essentially toward hospitals, the elderly, pregnant women and schools. Fresh produce is distributed 3 times per week, according to the reproductive and vegetative cycles of each plant, because they are harvested at varying times. Food production is of vital importance in these arid conditions because it helps meet nutritional needs locally instead of having to resort to the exterior.
Importantly, the fresh produce contributes to the fight against undernourishment and malnutrition.
Additional value lies in the crop's vitamins, which are indispensable to the healthy development of our children.
Yet, the gardens are more than a local source of food. They are public parks where Sahrawi children can play.
Just because we were forced to become refugees didn't mean that we had to remain idle. To the contrary, we have made contributions to agricultural science, above all by providing fresh food, rich in vitamins, proteins, and minerals to our people. When we return to our country, with the knowledge gained from this experience in exile, modern techniques, and our innovations, we will attempt to undertake an agricultural program. Perhaps one day we will meet our own food needs. In the meantime, these 148 acres are our gardens of hope.
While many refugees in the developing world suffer from starvation and disease, Sahrawi exiles are generally healthy. Today, there are no listless faces, nor blank gazes in the Hamada. Yet 15 years ago, Sahrawi camps were tragic.
When we arrived here in 1975 and 1976, we had to confront several diseases. The ones most widespread were measles, tuberculosis, malnutrition, diarrhea, hepatitis, and polio. But we lacked materials and medicine to fight these diseases.
Following the period of 1975-1976, we established a health program with the objective of guaranteeing the health of the entire population, both in curative and preventive aspects. By taking up preventive medicine, we aim to face head-on the illnesses typical of the region and to increase the capacity to confront future outbreaks of epidemics.
This comprehensive healthcare program makes every effort to produce a caring environment where health problems are addressed at an early stage. The many-sided system of preventive medicine sets out to eradicate those factors that favor or generate disease and epidemics. It encompasses aspects such as organization, immunization, environmental cleanliness, personal hygiene, food inspection, and health education. These are important aspects that serve as pillars of the prevention system. Hygiene, for example, begins at home. In each community, outreach workers offer health discussions.
Estos comités tienen una participación muy activa y hacen, por ejemplo, como te decía, una orientación a nivel de hogar, donde
local health departments actively participate by training mothers on matters such as cleaning the home, the hygiene of their school children, how they should arrive at school clean, how they should brush their teeth properly,
por ejemplo, debe cepillar correctamente los dientes, etcétera, así como también
as well as regard the cleanliness of the environment, the disposal of excrement and trash which can spread disease,
etcétera. O sea, lo que es programa de inmunización.
Our immunization program is based on the schedule of the World Health Organization. The program begins with infants, where, for example, newborns receive an initial vaccine against tuberculosis and regular injections thereafter.
Que se le aplique desde el nacimiento una BCG y así de una manera sucesiva. Y, o sea, ha tenido unos,
the vaccination program has been quite successful, save an outbreak in 1987. We determined that a batch of polio vaccines went bad owing to transport and refrigeration difficulties and took immediate steps to resolve the problem.
Tipo de vacuna, la de la polio, y que pudo ser resuelta a tiempo.
In the camps, complex operations, including orthopedic and eye surgery, are performed in the central hospital. 36 Sahrawi doctors staff this hospital and 4 other regional hospitals. 8 of the doctors are women. They are assisted by 4 nurse practitioners trained to diagnose and prescribe, and 250 nurses. Generally, the curative health services in the Sahrawi camps begin at the local community or daira level. The sick may go to a daira dispensary staffed by a nurse practitioner and 12 nurses. If a diagnosis reveals that the problem cannot be treated locally, the patient is referred to the regional hospital. Supplementary feedings are available at the 4 regional hospitals. In addition, once a malnourished child is admitted, practical advice is given to the mother on enhancing the basic food rations and on how to prevent such things as children's diarrhea. Imported medicines and vitamins are being used, but the Sahrawi health practitioners emphasize good nutrition. Remarkably, as the gardens have produced more food, pregnant women have had shorter hospital stays and undernourished children have made steady recovery. When health problems persist, patients are transported to the central hospital. In the winter, doctors see many individuals who get bronchitis and respiratory infections when the night temperature dips to 0. Older people suffer from rheumatism and bronchial pneumonia. These and other health problems can be addressed at the central hospital because fully staffed departments are available there. They include radiology, general medicine, pediatrics, dentistry, obstetrics and gynecology, laboratory, pharmacy, and ophthalmology. Eye care is critical during the summer months when sandstorms blow in and eye infections become commonplace. In addition, traditional healers supplement modern techniques with their repertoire of cures, another Sahrawi effort to adapt long-standing customs to a new setting. With the despair of epidemics behind them, Sahrawis are able to progress to steady recovery and generally good health. Sahrawi technicians also conduct medical research at the laboratories of the central hospital. They aim to make advances in standardizing traditional medicines. Still, another objective of the health program is to build human capacities.
La educación sanitaria siempre nos ha servido como punto de apoyo en el proceso curativo.
Health education always has served to support the curative process. Within the hospitals, there are health education halls where explanations and lectures are given using the means we have available, such as murals, posters, and slides. Descriptions of cases and types of sicknesses are given.
Diabetes y el tipo de diabetes, tratamiento, la explicación, la atención de enfermería, cómo se puede inyectar un diabetes, cómo tratarlo, cómo recibirlo.
I finished medical school in 1987. The way I see it, my role in life is to bring into this world a new and healthy generation of Sahrawis.
While development agencies only recently have begun to design people-centered projects, the Sahrawis have focused on building human capacities throughout their 16 years in exile. Their educational program aims to enable the Sahrawis to use their own resources by tapping the intellect and creativity of each individual.
We undertook an educational program taking into consideration two fundamental reasons. The first is that when Spain left in 1975, we had a high percentage of illiteracy. The second reason is that we had a large number of Sahrawi youth in need of education. To do this was quite difficult because we had few means and had to teach our children under the shade of trees or in tents. Since then, we've made much progress and we have institutions dedicated to education throughout the camps.
With minimum supplies, the Sahrawis have created a public school system staffed by 2,600 Sahrawi teachers. Older Sahrawi men and women also contribute to Sahrawi education, giving young children their first Arabic lessons through stories and songs. In the absence of pens and paper, this teacher will draw on an Islamic custom of inscribing the Quran on a wooden slate. In 26 nursery schools throughout the camps, Sahrawi children learn the Arabic alphabet, hygiene, dance, and music. The Sahrawis believe that investing in the development of their children is investing in the future. The demand for education is so high that the schools offer double shifts. Arabic is the primary language of instruction. Bilingual education begins in the third year of primary school when Spanish is introduced. In both primary and secondary schools, the core curriculum includes geography, mathematics, language arts, science, reading, history, and additional foreign languages. Physical education includes basketball, volleyball, handball, swimming, karate, gymnastics, and soccer. In contrast to the practice of other Islamic nations, sports in the Sahrawi camps are co-educational, with boys and girls participating in sport competitions every Friday. Teachers also incorporate traditional Sahrawi games, legends, and oral literature into their lesson plans. This Sahrawi poet recounts the beauty and wildlife of the southern part of Western Sahara, knowledge that she will pass down by word of mouth to a generation of children born in the refugee camps.
Besides Spanish, we start teaching foreign languages to our children beginning in 8th grade. We found out that English has become one of the most popular foreign languages among our students.
Even in the bleak Hamada, there is no evidence of a lack of creativity among Sahrawi student journalists.
We make the wall newspapers because we haven't enough paper, and we want our community informed, and if we put it on the wall, anyone can read it.
All the wall newspaper has articles like this. Introduction, science, weekly story, comics, history, and news.
In all the 4 camps, the students like us, we make the wall newspaper like this, and sometimes we make it in Spanish.
Another component of the Sahrawi educational system is vocational training. At the 27th of February school, named for the day in 1976 when the Sahrawis created a provisional government, Sahrawi women are working toward higher education certificates.
In general, this school annually admits a group of 350 students. It has 36 teachers. The fields of study offered are general education, early childhood education, health, and administration. Our school has family housing because we have permanent staff members living here. In addition, we must provide tents for the families of our new students each year. We also have nursery school assistants who help take care of the children of these families.
The Sahrawis recognized that it would be difficult to ask mothers to choose between the family or furthering their own education. So they adapted the school to accommodate the women's needs. Popular courses include reading, health, foreign languages, and typing. Standards are high. Students must complete the entire program, passing midterm and final exams in order to graduate. Sahrawis show the way forward by one person teaching another. Even with limited resources, creativity may be seen everywhere. Each summer since 1982, Sahrawi college students have returned from abroad to give basic literacy training for the camp's adult population in need of remedial education. Classes are conducted in Arabic, inside tents in each community. The student teachers often incorporate their own research on Sahrawi culture into the lessons given. They take great pride in showing how to read and write Sahrawi poems that their students had known only by memory. Often the older women are learning to read and write for the first time.
دمع العين اللهجيج منه لاحق القلادة بين دقدق سلاوريج وقليبات المدد.
In the colonial period, we were in darkness. We didn't know anything. Today, we have overcome illiteracy. Our children are the ones who taught us. Now we are able to do everything.
While many developing countries remain tied to foreign aid, the Sahrawis have opted for self-sufficiency. Today, they are meeting the most basic needs of housing, clothing, and food through local production. Emphasizing grassroots participation, indigenous training, and the informal sector, the Sahrawis have created an enabling environment out of the otherwise harsh Hamada.
Los saharauis empezaron
From the beginning of their presence here as refugees, Sahrawis undertook a series of small development projects on an individual basis.
Una serie de, digamos, desarrollo, una serie de proyectos, pequeños proyectos de desarrollo a nivel individual, si quieres, ha sido la iniciativa la que empujó, digamos, o convenció a que esto es posible, esto sea posible, o se ha demostrado que sea posible, y
Their initiatives proved to be viable projects, which were refined further on the local community level and then extended throughout the 4 wilayas or regions.
The Sahrawis organized themselves even without supplies.
Desde 1977.
This chicken farm is a project born of necessity. Instead of caving into the harsh and adverse climate, Sahrawi women decided in 1977 to show the way forward by drawing on their traditional experience of raising chickens in Western Sahara.
Tiempo y fuerza y salud, y han querido imponer la experiencia que ya han.
Yet no one imagined that their idea could be realized here.
Pero que nadie se hubiera imaginado que hubiera sido realizable aquí en esta situación. La mujer lo impuso.
The women showed us that it was feasible.
Su presencia aquí como refugiado.
This chicken farm has 105,000 hens that lay 69,000 eggs per day. In addition, after 21 days in the incubator hangar, 48,000 chicks are hatched. The production of eggs and chicken provides a local source of protein for the entire refugee population.
By channeling their energies, Sahrawis reduce their dependency on imported food. Self-help measures like this are precisely what have moved the Sahrawis from crisis to growth. Crafts production, normally an unsupported activity of the informal sector of a nation's economy, is thriving in the Sahrawi refugee camps. Individual artisans start off by making the odd piece in their spare time. Once they develop their skills, they can move on to the grassroots workshops offered in each community, where these necessary domestic goods can be made on a larger scale and then be returned for local consumption.
These cottage industry workshops are oriented toward training more than output. For us, it is important that people have a conception of production, of the appropriate consumption of raw materials, and of the proper use of capital goods and time.
As Sahrawis have become involved in developing their camp communities, they have felt empowered rather than overwhelmed by exile in the Hamada. Today, their cottage industries are turning out furniture, shoes, clothing, and a variety of consumer goods used in the desert. By empowering themselves, the Sahrawis are creating their own enabling environment. In exile, they are producing goods and services that will help launch the economy of an independent Western Sahara. At present, however, the barren Hamada does not provide needed raw materials. Some European donors have stepped in, sending wood and fabric. Today, women are producing garments, a Saharan role traditionally reserved for men. The colorful clothing provides a respite from the bleak environment. Here, too, used clothing can be cleaned, mended, and sorted for distribution. The Sahrawis aim to recycle as much as possible, because in the camps, nothing of value is allowed to go to waste. In the cottage industries, indigenous trainers can show other Sahrawis how to hone their sewing skills. In general, by encouraging individuals to show the way, the Sahrawi development strategy has produced a vibrant labor force. Now there is a generation of Sahrawis with advanced training who can teach others the skills necessary to become electricians and auto mechanics.
الدول مفتخرة هي وعوان غير أيام الصحراء
Great strides also have been made by propping up the informal sector. Today, the sale of leather cushions, tobacco pouches, miniature camel saddles, rugs and teapots generate valuable foreign exchange for the Sahrawis. Artisans have incorporated geometric and nature patterns into the design of these consumer goods, making them decorative as well as functional. The thick carpets displaying abstract desert streams are as awe-inspiring as Turkish kilims. Remarkably, in the bleak Hamada, the Sahrawis have created art. By enhancing even the vernacular, Sahrawis prevail over the harshness of their exile. Drawing on the wisdom and practices of the elders also has helped the Sahrawis survive 16 years in the Hamada.
In the Sahara, a spirit of cooperation among people has been passed down from one generation to another. Twiza is an efficient system of creating and producing goods. Thanks to people helping one another, agriculture was undertaken. Raising livestock would not have been possible without this cooperation. Without Twiza, our khaymas or tents could not have been produced. My grandmother, for example, would have needed years to make her own tent if she had to do it herself. With the help of other women, however, she would complete her khayma in months. This is Twiza, which is so appreciated that it's done even now.
Even a private sector is emerging in the camps, drawing on the experience of the Sahrawis, who for centuries have engaged in commerce across the Sahara.
In the future, we want a free market economy that will be open to the world. Our geographic proximity to Europe and America should benefit us in this regard, as well as regards the environmentally sound development of our fisheries and phosphate resources, which, despite having been overexploited, remain vital to our economy. In my opinion, underdevelopment is the inability to know how to use one's own resources, which certainly does not apply to the Sahrawis.
While nomads are held in contempt by most societies, in the Sahara they are respected by their people for practicing an art that is disappearing rapidly from the world. With their camels, Sahrawi nomads cover vast stretches in search of water and pasture, continuing a tradition that predates both the Prophet Muhammad and Jesus Christ. Today, some 250 nomadic families supply food and raw materials to Sahrawi refugees. These nomads also have succeeded in re-establishing impressive camel herds inside Western Sahara, yet another self-supporting Sahrawi initiative.
During the 1960s, the Sahrawi people were in the homeland. With the camels, goats and caravans, they traveled in order to exchange goods and to bring some of their food supplies from neighboring countries. But they were living in their homeland. In the 1970s, the frontiers with Mauritania, Algeria and Morocco were all but closed, and the animals suffered from drought. All these conditions were an enormous pressure on Sahrawi nomads.
16 years later, this nomad camp is bustling with activity. Sahrawi women have gathered to prepare the morning's milk. Locally cured goat skins serve as their desert churns. As the women spend the morning conversing, they will produce butter and a light refreshment similar to buttermilk, both staples of the nomadic diet. Before the oppressive midday heat sets in, the nomads will gather pods, twigs and gum arabic from acacia trees, with which they make medicines, set dyes and cure goat skins. They also collect other desert materials that can be transformed into productive use, such as esparto, camel hair and locally grown barley. While at camp, the nomads will have time to take stock of their few belongings. If a water bag shows signs of a slow leak, it will be mended. Knots are added and repairs are made to the cords